He's the one who knows what he's doing.
Mark Buchan knows what he's doing.
Not us. Not us.
So, you've got the Heartland, real people here this morning. We are real. So I want to say good morning to everyone and to thank my colleagues in the Heartland Caucus for joining us this morning to talk about the importance of this year's Farm Bill, and especially the importance of the Heartland as we work on this legislation. We established the Heartland Caucus earlier this year to engage on and advocate for the issues important to the people of the American Heartland, including agriculture, labor might be a little important right now, energy and environment, infrastructure, and others. Many areas that are included in the Farm Bill, and that's why we think it's so important to get the Heartland perspective right now. Our goal is to always ensure that views, values, and issues of the backbone of America are heard, prioritized, and included in policy. The Farm Bill is an opportunity to tackle urgent issues, including addressing hunger, supporting rural communities, strengthening labor rights, and combating the global climate crisis. SNAP is a lifeline for more than 40 million Americans, including children, the elderly, and our most vulnerable neighbors. One of the things we all here are committed to doing is to fighting for robust funding for SNAP and other key nutrition programs like the Gus Schumacher Nutrition Incentive Program in this year's Farm Bill. And we are going to oppose any effort to undermine it. We know that food security and nutritious eating are vital for improving health, reducing disease, and ensuring our children can grow and thrive. And I think too many people don't know how much our young children need those SNAP monies. When the public health emergency expired, there were kids, this was the only place that they get a meal. I'll tell you the story of going to an after-school program, and there was a little boy looking sad. And I said, I bet you just can't wait to go home and have dinner with Mommy and Daddy. And he said, we don't eat at home. That's why this matters. This is also an opportunity for conservation and climate action. This includes programs like the Voluntary Public Access and Habitat Incentive Program, which incentivize landowners to open their land for public use, encouraging outdoor recreation, and improving wildlife habitats. We must also include robust rural development funding that will help vulnerable communities and water utilities upgrade infrastructure to get PFAS out of their drinking water. Over the August district work period, I had the opportunity to tour many farms in my district to learn more about their businesses, but hear their concerns, their needs. And you know what? The most? How scared they are about getting a farm bill, how they need it. And I'm going to tell you, the Heartland's farms are very different than these big coastal, I won't take insults, but our farmers, again, are the backbone, the Midwest farmers, those Heartland farmers, many of them families that have transferred this business from generation to generation, truly are the backbone of our American economy and our American food system. I learned a lot from how crops and livestock are raised and harvested, crop management, the importance of soil health and conservation practices, year-round farming, the challenges that farmers are facing, the technologies that they're using to assist them, and the roles that farms are playing in environmental sustainability and biodiversity. We all care deeply about our farmers, and we care about our kids. We don't want them to go hungry, and we want them, their futures are really determined by whether they're getting that good start in the early years. So we're all committed in getting this done in ways that support our farms, our families, and our environment. And now I'm going to turn this over to my colleague, who is one of the hearts and souls of the Heartland, Marcy Kapter of Ohio.
Thank you very much, Debbie Dingle, for bringing us together today, and welcome to all of you. It's great to be here. I come from what's called the Great Black Swamp, and it was drained about 100 years ago, and the city of Toledo lies at its heart. But we live in one of the richest glacial grooves in America that is filled with glacial soils. You can put your finger in the ground in the heart of the city of Toledo and you can grow anything you want. About a week ago, I was a part of a team of women And on a Saturday morning in 2 hours, we gleaned 550 pounds of apples from a tree growing in the city. And 100 of those pounds went to the horses, and 450 pounds went to many of our feeding kitchens. So people had apple cuts and apple pie and applesauce. We live in an abundant part of America. What America makes and grows America. And we need to work hard in a farm bill to make sure our country has a follow-on generation of farmers. As Congresswoman Dingell mentioned, the food programs that are in the bill to help people who don't live on farms, but who need food, right? About 2/3 of the federal agriculture budget goes into programs that move food to cities and move food to rural towns where people don't have enough food. Those are essential, but I wish if I could wave a magic wand, I would require a garden in every school. That every child in America, whether they live in the heart of Chicago, whether they live in the heart of Toledo, whether they live in the heart of Cleveland, that they are able to learn how to grow food where it is possible. And even where you don't have good soils or good water, we have technology now where we can actually grow in very difficult circumstances. So first of all, we have to, in a farm bill, make sure there's a follow-on generation of farmers in this country. The average age of farmers is about 60 years of age, and I was with somebody over the weekend. I said, Marcy, I'm the last one. There's no follow-on. So that is a very important issue, and also who gains the skills? Who gains the skills to actually grow? Future Farmers of America 4-H perform superb public service around this country. We need to expand them. We need to find a way to make sure that they attach to every single congressional district and every school. We need to grow those institutions so young people learn about how to sustain life, their own and those around them. This sector is a lodestar sector. I live at the eastern end of the Corn Belt, and so Archer Daniel Midlands, Mondelez Foods Nabisco, the Andersons, Alfalfa, Green. We have so many companies that are that attend to agriculture. We also are at the cusp of putting out on the road a 100% John Deere ethanol-powered tractor, 100% ethanol. And we as a country can now make fuel, renewable fuels from the earth, but we still do not know which plants require the least BTU input for the greatest BTU output. And that is a whole new horizon that we need to go down and understand so that renewable fuels become a part of our daily life. They are already, if you drive a car, 15% of the tank is ethanol. But we're at the beginning of the renewable energy age. And there's big business out there, and there's big benefits to the environment if we think about energy and agriculture. What America makes and grows America. And we know that for the urban agriculture sector, and I want to just say a word about this, we have big food banks. And when people are hungry, they go to the food banks. How about if we give the food banks the contractual authority to contract with local farmers? Because guess who are the biggest donors to food banks and feeding kitchens? Local farmers. Local farmers. So let's give them contracting authority. Let's give them the ability in some of the federal assistance that they receive to be able to move their food to schools, local schools, so that our farmers benefit by feeding children in those school food programs. Those connections are very weak around the country. Can you imagine if we actually connected our school system's food programs and our food bank programs to local farmers? It would just lift the economy of these rural areas that would welcome this additional contracting authority. So the last thing I want to say, raising food depends on water. And we can see with climate change what's happening around our country and the world. I come from the Great Lakes region, as does Debbie Dingell, as does Mark Pocan, as does Reverend Jackson, as you, everybody, okay, Congresswoman Bazinski, everybody that's here with us today practically. But all across the country in all 50 states, algal blooms are impacting our freshwater systems. This is a consequential challenge, and we will be submitting for consideration a healthy Farms Healthy Watersheds Act, or portion of the Farm Bill, to encourage strategic application of USDA programs that will maximize voluntary watershed health with existing dollars, because you can literally map the country to the watersheds and the sub-watersheds, and you can engineer what you do in those sub-watersheds to hold back the effluent that is creating the nutrients, such as dissolved reactive phosphorus, that are causing the algal blooms all over this country. So we need to be much more engineering minded as we look at U.S. agriculture and move out into these watersheds in a way that effectively saves our freshwater systems, whether you're down in Florida in the Everglades, whether you're up in the Great Lakes region, whether you're out in the dry West. There's a lot of work that attends to managing these water systems. Before I pass it on to my fellow appropriator, Mark Pocan of Madison, Wisconsin, I just want to say a program I have worked on for almost 30 years needs attention. And that program is called the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, coupled with the WIC Farmers Market Nutrition Program. What does this do? This program takes a few $1 million every year. Maybe it serves one congressional district in each state. And it gives, in the summer months, coupons to seniors and to pregnant women where they can go to their local farmers market and purchase fresh fruits, vegetables, and honey. Do you know what that does to local agriculture, to local farmers with EBT redemption machines right at their farm? It creates enterprise. And so I'm hoping that the Department of Agriculture will understand the worth of this program and help to serve the many congressional districts that are not currently being served in this country. Thank you so very much. I went to college in Madison. I actually got a degree from University of Wisconsin, which I treasure every day of my life. And let me introduce the fine congressman from Madison, Wisconsin, my friend, our friend, Congressman Mark Pocan.
Well, thank you very much, Marcy, and we're very proud of our most distinguished Badger alumni in Congress. Thank you. As you can tell, we're all very passionate about our districts. We have a lot of agricultural needs, whether it be the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program in our districts or some of the programs that affect some of the more rural areas. In Wisconsin, clearly America's dairy land. Dairy is very, very important. Corn, soy, cranberries, lots of things. I represent Madison, but I also represent counties that are very rural in nature. In fact, Lafayette County, one of the growing populations is Amish, and that's my district. So we deal with agricultural issues a lot. One of my concerns is in watching this Republican majority on the Appropriations Committee on the Agriculture Appropriations Bill, if you look at that, you can't have a farm bill without having a government funding bill for ag. And when you look at how extreme that bill was, it slashed funding 30%. It went back to levels from 2007 for the USDA. And in doing so, it slashes the WIC program, the Women, Infants, and Children program, for 5 million women and children. Recently, someone came by and brought little baskets of what will be left monthly that's going to go to people through that program under the Republican plan. They also slashed rural broadband by over 23%. Including a $100 million cut to the Reconnect program that serves about 400,000 rural households. They cut funding for water and waste projects by more than a third, and they can't even get their bill to pass on the floor. They've pulled more appropriation bills than they've passed at this point. But nonetheless, that was their appropriations bill for agriculture. And if that has anything to do with what the Farm Bill looks like, we're going to be in for some real problems. I'm assuming in the next 11 days, you're not going to see a farm bill get through the House. The problem is it's not just do an extension and try to figure this out. If it's not done by January 1st, there's a trigger that hits in particular for dairy where prices will automatically increase several-fold and will severely impact dairy farmers, not just in Wisconsin, but in all of our districts. We have to get this done. We have to get this done right. But if the Ag Appropriations Bill is any indicator of where this is, we all should be greatly concerned because it will have a devastating impact on farmers across not just the upper Midwest, but across the country. And with that, I'm going to introduce another member of our caucus, Sharice Davids from Kansas.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody for joining today. I'm Sharice Davids. I represent Kansas's 3rd district in Congress. Last year, my district ended up getting a lot more rural. And because of that, I immediately joined the House Agriculture Committee and have really made it my mission to learn from as many of the agricultural professionals as I can in my district. And, to do that, I went on this farm bill listening tour and visited a lot of amazing places: a livestock operation, a co-op, a vegetable farm, a goat farm. I also got the chance to tour a renewable ethanol producer, went to a livestock auction. That was really fun. And I got the chance actually to see, we heard a little bit from my colleagues about Future Farmers of America. We have some amazing activities that FFA is doing at local high schools in my district, and then even got a chance to serve school lunch at one of our elementary schools. And then on my last stop, I know Congressman Pocan had to go to a hearing, but on the last stop on my tour, I got the chance to visit with Ratliff Jerseys, which is a dairy farm in Garnett, Kansas, and they're going to be at the World Dairy Expo in early October. I'm very excited to see how the outcome of those competitions that happen up there too go. But the owners there talked about the importance of the Farm Bill to their business, their operations, because of so many different pieces. I mean, the Farm Bill does things like, of course, protects from unexpected declines in the market, in crop yields, in revenue. The Farm Bill is what gives our producers the tools that they need to implement water improvements, which we also heard about. We know that expanding broadband in rural America to help boost economic development is a big part of what we want to accomplish in the Farm Bill. And then, beyond our agricultural small businesses, we know that protecting wildlife habitats, addressing climate change, ensuring that folks have access to nutritious foods. These are the things that impact Kansans every single day, but really impact our entire country. The Kansas agricultural operations that would be negatively impacted if the Farm Bill were to expire, both the consequences that Congressman Pocan talked about, but congressional action is going to be needed here. We have to pass the Farm Bill. The crucial USDA programs that make reports available to farmers and ranchers so they can make daily decisions are so important. And that's the business side of things. If you think about the folks who need to buy groceries, seeing the price of groceries increase at this point would be truly heartbreaking for some people. And then I just have to say that, agriculture is the biggest sector in the state of Kansas. It's a $76 billion part of our economy. And then globally, Kansas actually sends and exports a lot of food. It's $5.3 billion in agricultural exports just in 2021. So making sure that we get a bipartisan compromise on the Farm Bill is a top priority of mine. I know it is for so many of my colleagues. We have to protect crop insurance. We have to increase agricultural research. We have to boost nutrition programs and support our local food systems. And we have to also make sure that we're making improvements so USDA programs are actually working for folks. I'm committed to working with my colleagues. I know my Democratic colleagues on the Agriculture Committee are committed to working across the aisle as well. And I'm going to turn it over now to Congressman Jackson from Illinois. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Davids. I'd like to thank the organizer of our caucus, Congresswoman Dingle, and also Congresswoman Capter. We're speaking on behalf of the Midwest, the heart and soul of the nation. You've heard from Wisconsin, you've heard from Michigan, you've heard from Ohio, and now you've heard from Kansas. I've had the opportunity on the Farm Bill to go into Eastern Tennessee, Central Missouri. I've kept up with the goings on in Wisconsin as well as in the New England area. And Marcy Kapler, she said it best, what America makes and grows, what grows America. Agriculture is the largest industry in 49 out of 50 states. 50% of the corn in the state of Illinois is shipped abroad. I believe that we can also have good diplomacy, not just with military, but also with food diplomacy. Most of the world has experienced this dramatic climate change, as well as food insecurity. It's growing abroad, food insecurity, and it's growing at home. I've got three things that I'm really focused on in this farm bill. One is to protect and expand nutrition assistance. I like to use the full name of supplemental nutrition assistance. I'll say it again, supplemental nutrition assistance. People aren't having enough nutrition. Many people in the urban market are overfed and undernourished, that there is not ample supplies of fresh food, fresh vegetables. While I'm on the Agriculture Committee, representing the heart of the city of Chicago, and I tell the farmers, you are the producers, we are the consumers. We have a lot in common, and we do have enough food in this country to support women and children. We're talking on average of $2 per meal that we're trying to put on the table for women and children. I'd like to expand these programs. It doesn't take much when you hear college students that are sleeping in cars that need food. Even students that are going to Harvard are needing to have supplemental nutritional assistance. People with disabilities and our military families. When some of the largest corporations in America are setting up a supplemental nutrition assistance office in their building to tell people how to apply for food security, we can do better than that. America not only should support the crop insurance, I've relabeled SNAP as the supplemental nutrition as food insurance. We can support crop insurance for those that have to conserve their land, and we can support food insurance for those that don't have the means for transportation or access to public transportation, or are underemployed, that aren't being paid enough because of the skyrocketing health and housing costs, that need assistance. We can afford it. Second part is to support smaller producers in urban agriculture. This is a 1.5 trillion with a T bill. There is enough in there. Ms. Cantor said it best. Wouldn't that be awesome to see every school have access to a farm? It can be outside or it can be inside. Teach the children the food doesn't come necessarily from the grocery store. It starts in the soil. It starts, and this is what we understand in the Midwest. Also, to fund the Office of Urban Agriculture, USDA, to better serve the urban producers. There's a part in the agriculture bill that lets local growers in urban communities sell to their local institutions. I would like to see that protected and expanded for green space as well. And the last part would be to invest in the broadband, that there is 82% of the historically black colleges and universities are in broadband deserts. We should fully fund access to broadband at institutions of higher learning. Broadband simply isn't just to connect to social media. It's the way of agribusiness, to have GPS on automated equipment, to evaluate soil and nutrition, as AI also is going to play a bigger factor in the future of agriculture. Having access to broadband will enable that. If not, our farmers will be left behind. Having access to broadband in rural areas will make sure we have telemedicine to reach these areas. So these are all things that we care about on our healthcare, housing, on our gas, on our groceries, to make America better. I am delighted to be a part of the Agriculture Committee. And I also like to thank my fellow colleague and bring her on at this time, the Honorable woman on the Agriculture Committee from the great state of Illinois, Congresswoman Nikki Budzinski.
Thank you, Congressman Jackson. Thank you.
She's my friend.
Yes, my friend and fellow House Ag Committee member. Not good evening, but good morning, everyone. I'm really honored to be a part of the Heartland Caucus and joined by my colleagues here today. My district is largely in central and southern Illinois. It is the home to some of our nation's most fertile soil, some of our most productive farmland. And that is why, as soon as I got to Washington, I wanted to serve on the House Agriculture Committee so that I can have a hand in writing this year's Farm Bill and ensuring its benefit in the family farmers and local institutions driving our agricultural economy in this area have a voice and a seat at that table. I'd like to highlight three of the initiatives I've been really trying to prioritize within the Farm Bill. Access to land and capital is critical to the success of agriculture. But access to land is the number one challenge facing young farmers in the United States. You heard some of the concern that Congresswoman Capter mentioned as well, that she's hearing in Ohio. We face, and I think agriculture throughout this country faces this challenge. And one of my top Farm Bill priorities is a bipartisan bill introduced by myself and Congressman Zach Nunn, the Increasing Land Access, Security, and Opportunities Act. This bill provides funds to expand an existing USDA program to improve funding pathways for young and beginning farmers, which is so important. The second initiative I wanted to just highlight, one of my bills is called Rebuild Rural America Act. Acknowledges the success of our nation relies on the talent, innovation, and production of our rural communities. This bill expands a national effort to position rural regions for success in today's economy by making rural economies more resilient. It offers flexible, responsive, long-term investment and assistance for local rural development efforts. I'd also like to highlight my third initiative, which I recently introduced, called the America Grows Act, with my good friend Senator Dick Durbin, to increase funding for agricultural research at universities and the USDA to help keep America competitive on the global stage. As we all know, many of these programs, which has been alluded to from my colleagues, expire on September 30th, which is very concerning as that deadline quickly approaches. And I call on House Republicans to make sure that we get a bipartisan spending agreement and farm bill extension over the finish line so our farmers are not suffering from a lapse in resources. I'm excited to get down to business and talk about all the challenges and opportunities facing agriculture and the ways we can work together to make sure that the Farm Bill works for hardworking farmers across our heartland. So thank you all. And at this moment, I have the privilege of introducing another House Agriculture Committee member, Congresswoman Brown.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I also want to thank Debbie Dingle and state that I am honored to have been selected to serve as the ranking member on the subcommittee of General Farm Commodities, Risk Management, and Credit for the 118th Congress. The Farm Bill is a historic opportunity to foster bipartisan collaboration. I'm looking forward to working with my colleagues across the aisle to ensure that we deliver the strongest bill possible for farmers and families. We know that the strength and resilience of our farm supply chain directly impacts Northeast Ohio families' ability to access nutritious foods. That's why I remain deeply committed to ensuring farmers have the resources we need to feed in Ohio and across the country. The Ohioan saying is, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes and it will change.
It's only Cleveland.
Right. It's not just figurative, but literal, as changing weather presents a unique challenge for farmers. The farming industry is among the riskiest, and farmers need tools to be resilient when disaster strikes. Food security is not a rural or urban issue. It affects families across the state of Ohio. When we reauthorize the Farm Bill every 5 years, we have an opportunity to fight hunger and help families who have fallen on hard times. I hope you will join me in advocating for a strong nutrition title in this year's Farm Bill. As ranking member on the subcommittee on General Farm Commodities, Risk Management, and Credit, I look forward to working with this Congress and Congressman Austin to deliver a strong Title I for the Farm Bill. Risk management and crop insurance is worth investing in upfront so that farmers have certainty and comfort in their operations. And with that, it will take a few, maybe 1 or 2 questions if there are any.
Any Farm Bill questions?
I know people have schedules. I'll take a question, but I did want to frame the end of this by saying, when I was born, our country had 146 million people. We are now at about 325 million, headed to 400 million, and possibly a 500 million by 2050. So as we look at our land and we look at its capacity to produce, we have to recognize population does present new pressures on our country. And in addition to that, the soils. Now, the regenerative soils initiatives in the Farm Bill are extremely important because farmers are realizing that the vegetables grown today compared to 1945 have half as many nutrients. And they think it's because the soil's been beaten with certain types of fertilizers for 3 decades now, 3 generations. And we've got to figure out soil health and regenerative soil. So these are terms you'll hear as we discuss the new Farm Bill. I'll take a question for the members from this gentleman and identify your outlet.
Choose your website. I'm with Kansas City Star. But so, I mean, I guess I'm more interested in water, but there is, this not thing is interesting. But so you all are clearly, Representative Davis, are you on this bill about algae blooms as well? The water bill?
What's the? I'm sorry. I'd have to check and see because I know that we've been looking at it. Can I let you?
Yeah. But just as a kind of larger issue, obviously water is a struggle. You've got the Colorado River issue in the Southwest, but in Kansas itself, I mean, besides the drought, you also have the Ogallala.
Yeah.
What do you see as kind of opportunities for Congress to step in to help preserve?
Sorry, we're
yeah.
we're all running a little.
It's fine. Yeah.
Well, I actually, so a couple of things in terms of water and the role that Congress